Hello and welcome. You are listening to the Gay with God podcast, a safe place for us to share our stories and support one another. How long did we know? What challenges did we face? Did we lose our faith? When did we find our way back home? Or are we still searching? The stories you hear on this podcast will melt your heart and strengthen your belief that in God, all things are possible, and you can be authentically gay with the God of your understanding. I am your host, Midge Noble, and I am very honored that you are here. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Gay with God podcast. I am your host, Midge Noble, and I thank you so much for continuing to support and share and subscribe to the Gay with God podcast. And I also commend to you that if you want to know more about my backstory, if you're just getting to know me, I did write a memoir, Gay with God, Reclaiming My Faith, Honoring My Story, which talks about my journey of not knowing who I was and who my authentic self was as a child, and having to come way late into my 30s, well, just around right at 30, to find out that I was in fact gay. And back then it was gay or lesbian, and queer was the bad word. And now queer we celebrate. And I love how we can continue to evolve and move forward in our lives. So check out my memoir, Gay with God, Reclaiming My Faith, Honoring My Story. And also, if you have a story, if you have a coming out faith journey story that you would like to share, I would love to hear it and honor it, and I would love to book you as a guest. So when you go to our show page at empoweredmidge.podbean.com, you'll see the show notes from today, but you'll also see links to connect with me, and one of those links is to be a guest on the Gay with God podcast. We just hit our 200th episode from Gay with God. A previous podcast I had done called Empowering Awakened Hearts did not get counted in those 200 episodes. So I've done over 200 episodes as a podcaster. However, just with Gay with God, we hit 200, and we are working on going from 20,000 downloads up to 30,000. And so I thank you so much for continuing to download and share this so that other people will download, and we will continue to get the word out. Somebody suggested one time that I was making money off of this. I assure you that I do not make money off of podcasting. I do not have any financial backers or sponsors, but I do have the people that love this show and also love the people that have met each other through this show. It's just been really humbling to see how just a small town girl from North Carolina could reach people actually across the world. And I just love it that it has that much of a reach. So continue to support, continue to find out more about my story, and please be willing to share your story with us. So today I'm talking about rising up to meet the challenge. That comes in lots of different forms, doesn't it? For me, my first challenge was to even figure out that I was gay because of the religious trauma that we've talked about on this show before. But today we are finding ourselves in such a big amount of trauma and challenges just in this political election. I cannot believe how much dissension there is among the two parties. Now, Republicans and Democrats have never agreed necessarily, often. However, the ugliness that we're seeing in this campaign and the vitriol just hate and wounding of each other that's going on is just overwhelming. And this past weekend, for me, it was just too much. It was too much. I'm getting emails, and I know you guys are too. If you've donated even $5, you are getting a plethora of emails trying to get you to donate again, donate more, please. Aren't you listening? Oh my goodness, Midge, you are the only one in Randolph County who has not committed to Kamala Harris or to whoever. Really, I have donated, I have shared, I have clicked on things, I have signed petitions, I've done all these things. And yet they continue to hound you and get really ugly sometimes about, and it's not from Kamala Harris's campaign, it's from all of the other offshoots, that will then, in the name of Kamala Harris, say to me, you know, I cannot believe that with everything that we've done, we can't believe that you are not going to vote, that you haven't even registered, that you haven't this or that. So the lies and the pressure and the trying to recommit, commit, recommit, it's ridiculous. And so I just started making sure that I was unsubscribing to any and all things that looked political this past weekend. I don't want to hear another word about it. I do want to win. I want our candidate to win. I want to be able to be safe in my marriage. I want to have my rights. I do not plan on ever having an abortion because I don't think I can get pregnant, number one, according to a doctor many years ago. I know, TMI. However, if for some reason that were to happen, and it would have to be a violent, very awful experience if that were ever to happen, but I just don't know if I could have an abortion. However, I am not the boss of anybody else's body, am I? And neither should the government be. So I support every woman's right to her own choice in health care, whatever that covers. And I don't think it's right for women to be dying in parking lots and having their lives um, possibly ended because they're not getting appropriate health care. So I stand for equality, equity, compassion, vision. I want sound vision and clarity on where we're going to go from here and how we're going to get there. I stand for all people to have the basic human rights as everybody else. I don't think there should be a hierarchy. I know we're always going to have rich and we're always going to have poor, and I guess we'll always have a middle class, but it should not be this far between everybody. And I don't believe that we are coming together as a country. If anything, since 2016, we are far divided from that. So the challenge for us now to rise up, if we're to rise up to meet this political challenge as a queer community and as brothers and sisters in authenticity, we have to understand how important that is, that we do that for everybody, not just the queer community, but also for those in our queer community who are out and proud, and those who are proud and not out. I was proud of myself when I finally figured it out, although scared to death because of the religious trauma. However, I couldn't be forced to tell everybody right away because it was a very scary, threatening thing. I was working in the school system. That was a big no-no in the school system. As a matter of fact, I left the school system after 8 years of serving and never thought I would leave. I thought I would always be in the school system. However, in the county I was working in at the time, they were looking for gay people to demote and to make it impossible for them to want to serve, and that they would then, quit. And so that led me to another place to serve. However, if someone had forced me to come out during that time and make it super, super public the way I am now, I am my brand. I'm gay with God just as how I live my life. My memoir is gay with God. My business is gay with God. So I am my brand, and I'm comfortable at this point to be out, although getting more and more less comfortable because of the hatred that's coming from those who are following Trump, and from those who are in the far right Christian nationalists, not Christian people who want to just cleanse the world of everybody. So the first way that we need to rise up is that we have to get honest about who we support. Because if we're supporting someone who can maybe just make the rich richer and move everybody to a white land, country, whatever. I mean, that's one. None of us are probably completely white. We were all immigrants to begin with because the Native Americans were the only owners of this land at the time, if you want to call it owning. But we are not all purely just white. So I just don't understand why we would support someone who wants to cleanse the world of people who are all immigrants. And I don't understand why we can't be honest about the fact that we would not survive as a country without people willing to come to this country and do the jobs that we must feel too high and mighty to do. So, people complaining about someone else taking their job, it's really not about someone taking their job. It's about you don't want any other job than the job you may be going for. Or you may not want to work in a field under horrible climate conditions. You may not want to live in poverty because no one that does that work gets paid that much. And I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying, call it what it is. Get honest about the fact that you know that without people picking some of the fruits and the vegetables and doing the farm work, our country would go to a standstill as far as food available for everybody. So we need to get honest about what are we really supporting. Are we supporting something that we believe because we're afraid not to believe it? Are we supporting someone who has convinced us that the next candidate is doing all these ugly things when really all we have to do is look and listen to Trump and we know who he is? He has told us time and time again. So let's get honest about the fact that maybe you're just going to vote your straight party ticket without thinking about how that's going to affect your life or the lives of everybody else around you. When I see that gay people are supporting Trump, I'm just perplexed. I'm perplexed that Mark Robinson, who's trying to be the governor of my state, North Carolina, he's a black man talking about he wants to bring back slavery. Where do you think you're going to be in that picture, Mark? I don't understand what he thinks. And that he wants to just be so blatantly disrespectful and ugly and calling for people to be killed. I don't even know how people like that get on the ballot to begin with. How did they even get enough votes to get there except for he's running as a Republican? I just don't get it. I don't get how gay people vote for someone who wants to take away our marriage. I just don't get it. So let's be honest about why we're voting for who we're voting for. We need to rise up in our own head really and get clear because it's not ever going to work out for us if we throw someone else under the bus in order to get what we think we're going to get out of this. We have to think about each other collectively. We as a group, as a queer community, and as brothers and sisters of everybody else on this planet, we need to get really super clear about what we're doing. Secondly, I think that as a queer community and just as people in general, we need to rise up with love and compassion. And I know that's hard to say because there are times, especially this past weekend, that I wasn't feeling the love for a lot of people. I really wasn't. And I've struggled through this election. I have horror dreams from 2016. And I'm having more now because I think the stakes are higher. And the stakes are higher because the world in general is just toxic. We are getting to the point where we only care about ourselves and we're not looking and having compassion for other people. That is a general statement. Okay, that's a general statement. I know there's a lot of good things going on right now, and I would love for us to be able to hold on to that. However, during this election, I'm not seeing a lot of compassion and love. I'm seeing a lot of name calling. I'm seeing a lot of ugly rhetoric. And I'm seeing a lot of lies, really. And so, love and compassion to each other is the only way that binds us to one another. It's the only thing that keeps us being vigilant when the things like the storms happen and people rally together and they go to help their brothers and sisters in need. That is pure love and compassion. Some people, yes, I've heard this. Some people, yes, are doing it, I think, to get their name out there for their business or whatever they're doing. But the bottom line is, if you're helping someone clear trees off their house, or you're bringing food, medicine, water to people, if you're donating money to bolster that effort, then yes, that's love and compassion purely. And I've seen it. I know it's happening. You know, I love, love, love when people bind together. I would love also for it not to have to be because of tragedy. I would love for us to always be in this state of compassion and thinking of one another, even when there's not, a Milton or Helene or 9/11 or all the other things that we've endured that people rise up after. So in this particular case, when we're talking about the election, love and compassion will not reign if Trump gets in, because he's not led a campaign of compassion. I've seen Kamala talk about, you know, each group that she goes to, she's very aware of their situation. She's very aware of how they're handling their own lives and how hard their lives have been. And she brings that hope and compassion to people, no matter who they are or where they're living, or it doesn't matter. She just has that compassionate spirit about her. And I really don't believe that Trump is capable of having that genuinely. I think he does things that make it look like he might be, but when you really pay attention, the words that he calls people, the names that he calls people, and the words that he uses are just toxic. And I just don't want the world to see that we have put our votes behind someone that is that disrespectful to everybody beneath him, because I don't think he thinks anybody is on his equal, anybody beneath him or any other country. The things he says about other leaders and other countries, and I just don't trust that and we saw this in 2016, so I don't trust it now, and I saw it happen before, that we lost very good working relationships with countries because of his reign for starting in 2016. That's when it started, where people started doubting our ability to be the country of compassion and honor. And now we don't have that same kind of name, although it got better, through the Obama years, and it got better with Biden. But it's just scary to me that he can absolutely wipe away the credibility that the United States has. The one thing that we do have and we continue to always have is resilience. Now, some people say, I don't know how to be resilient. If you don't know how to be resilient, you and I need to have a conversation. Go to my show page and find how to connect with me, and let's have a conversation. Because resilience is that inner oomph that we have, that inner oomph where we can rise up after we've been kicked down. And that comes from either our own rejection of ourself, it comes from the rejection of others, and it comes from fear. Fear can immobilize us and keep us in a place of complacency, in a place of not knowing, and a place where we don't believe that we're worth anything. Resilience is when you start to pick yourself up even though you're not thinking you're ready. Because we're never like, ooh, today's a great day, I'm going to go be resilient. No, it's a choice that you make even before you feel it. You make the choice to stop being in the place that you are, whether that's a place of unworthiness or fear, or just, feeling like you don't know what to do. Resilience is finding that next step, just one step of maybe saying a mantra, or getting into coaching, or finding someone you can talk to, or praying from your bed. in your tears and your feeling of unworthiness. It's just making a choice to not stay where you are emotionally and to find that one thought, that one feeling, that one little nugget that you can hold on to so that you don't slip any further down. That's resilience. And as you continue to find each nugget, you get stronger and stronger and stronger. And I know from personal experience that it is a very minuscule change in the beginning. And you have to hang on to that until you can get to the other side. That's why coaching is so important, because when you're not able to do it for yourself, someone else can coach you through those nuggets and be supportive and be with you in the places of not moving forward and being able to hold space for you as you continue to journey through that. Resilience is something I think some people naturally may have within them, but I'm not sure that we all really have it. I think we do it. And it's different for everybody what they hold on to get them through. During these catastrophic times of our life right now, the thing we need more than anything else is the knowledge that we can rise up. We can meet this challenge. And as I've discussed with family members, it really is sometimes as simple as go vote. Not voting is not rising up. Not voting is allowing other people to make decisions for us. Not voting is a way to be complacent. To be resilient, you stand even outside of your party if you have to. And I told somebody the other day that if Trump was my candidate, I would be voting for Kamala on this one, because if we as Democrats had chosen somebody like Trump to run our party, I would not vote for that person. I would hopefully find that the other person is less toxic than that, and I would vote out of my party, because it's not about party for me. It's about democracy. It's about compassion. It's about moving the country forward and not going back to the 50s. I mean, I was raised up in the 50s, and as I recall, it wasn't that great for women. It wasn't that great for black people. It wasn't that great for a lot of people. And we didn't have the rights that we needed to have back then as gay people. So the queer community needs to understand that we don't have rights that are solid. We only have rights for people who believe in our rights when they're in office. And you know what Trump did in 2016 to our rights, and it's going to be worse this time. So I am as fired up as I can possibly be about not going through that again. I don't choose to go through that again. I choose to rise up in honesty, love and compassion and resilience to get a new future for not only our queer community, but for every other person here, whether they want it or not right now. I want them to have it. I want them to have it because they're my brothers and sisters who have gone through the wayward side, and they don't really know what they're voting for at this point. I really don't think some people really are paying attention, and they don't know how catastrophic this is going to be. And the more I hear people who are commentators for political agendas, and they tell the people they're talking to that, Trump's economy is going to devastate us in 6 years. We're going to be out of money in 6 years. When they say that there's no way that what he's saying he's going to do is actually going to happen, as far as, building that wall, which never happened, and all the other things he says he's going to do. But the Project 2025 people who wrote the Project 2025, who don't care really about Trump at all, I really believe that they are just getting him in because they can run off of his rants. And once he's in, the 2025 project people will probably either put J.D. Vance in office, because there is that amendment that says if your leader is not competent, you can replace them with the vice president. And guess who's that going to be? And he's not really qualified, but he's going to be surrounded by all the people in the cabinet that got appointed because they told Trump who to appoint, just like they told Trump which Supreme Court justices to put in there. They will be surrounded by all the people who will do the toxic things. And J.D. Vance will do what he's told. And that will be to follow the Project 2025 agenda. And if you have not read that yet, I say this every time we talk about it, please download Project 2025 and read it. And I know it's a lot to read, but jump ahead to sections that you want to find, but it is something that we are not prepared to live under at this point in time in our lives. However, we have choice. We have the choice to vote. I was proudly one of the first voters in North Carolina on day one, and we went over 300,000 votes this first early voting period. And I was so proud to be among one of those 300 plus thousand people. So I'm doing all that I can do. And I encourage you, as part of the queer community, as somebody that really has a stake in how this turns out, even if you're a Republican, even if you don't want to cross party lines, please think about not only us, but think about the next generation of queer kids who will not have the books they need to read. They will not have the people out and proud in their communities, because I really think that we could be a target. And I don't want all the work that everybody before us did to get us our rights and everything we've done to continue our rights to then go away and have our kids have to start all the way over and to be in jeopardy and not to be able to get the health care they need. There is so much for our queer community to stand on that we have to be vigilant and vote in a president who can and will and does support our queer community. So there you have it, my friends. I know that I'm hitting this hard during these last few podcasts, but I am just unable to be silent when I know how much is at stake. So I want to thank you. And I really ask that you share this with people that you know and that you love, and let's get this message out there. Also, remember to stand in honesty, love, and compassion and resilience, because after all, that's how it starts and that's how it's going to have to end, that we become as resilient as possible. In that vein, you can check out the Facebook group. We're actually doing My Faith Journey tonight. If you go to the Gay with God Facebook page that I run, there's a monthly Zoom group entitled My Faith Journey, and we talk through some of these issues. We also sometimes talk about scripture, and we sometimes talk about how we're struggling or how we're surviving or how we're actually winning at being gay in a community where they think that we're toxic. So we have really great conversations. So in order to get in the group, go to the Gay with God Facebook page and ask to be a part of the group, and make sure you answer all the questions, because by answering those questions, it helps me know that you will be on the same page as far as confidentiality and integrity to be in the group. If you are listening to this podcast and are questioning whether you can be gay and be in a relationship with the God of your understanding, if you identify as LGBTQIA+, or not even sure if you're gay, God has always been within you. Even when you didn't know it, you have always been gay with God. Thank you, everybody. Stay tuned to see how you can join the Gay with God community. And as always, you are loved. I want to invite you to become a part of the Gay with God community. How can you do that? Stay connected by messaging me your thoughts and comments in the comment section under the downloads of the show on the Gay with God show page. Subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen, and share so we can increase our community outreach and be a light to those who are struggling to claim their faith. Consider being a sponsor so I can highlight your service in our community. We are all worthy of respect and a relationship with the God of our understanding. I want to thank you in advance for supporting this podcast. Together, we as a community will keep this show visible and our community stronger. Deep gratitude to my friend Tim McClendon of Tim McClendon Music for allowing me to use an excerpt from Interlude 4, a song found on his CD entitled Sundance.